Hey guys, welcome to the Neglected Podcast. This podcast is not to change your mind, but to invite you into somebody else's narrative. This is a podcast to give a voice to the neglected. It is also an opportunity for all of us to engage.
Hi, Neglected Podcast listeners. This is your host, Jovanna. I am so glad to be back. It's been a little bit since I've gotten a host. So I am here today with a special guest. This is Kevin. Say hi, Kevin.
Hey, what's going on?
And so, Kevin, I met you at a love rally. You and some of your friends had put it together to just get the community together to talk about gun violence. And when I met you at that point, I was thinking about, like, this would be a cool idea for an interview. And so I'm so glad you said yes to it. This is our first time actually having a conversation. So I'm excited for the listeners to be a part of that as well. So I do just want to start from just you telling me about you, where you're from, your family, your background, all that stuff.
Well, I'm born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. Went to high school, Groves High School, graduated, played high school ball. I've been here my whole life. Have a 2-year-old daughter. It's pride and joy. That's probably my biggest that is my biggest motivation. Coaching high school basketball at my old school, so I get the chance to help 20, 25 young men, plus the rest of the school, help them and guide them a little bit. That's me. I'm in the church, family oriented, St. Paul CME. Pastor Thurman's my pastor. I'm just grateful to be here, thankful for the opportunity to come and speak with you. Just thankful and glad,
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So we had talked a little bit before, so this isn't the first time we're talking. But when you said that you were from Savannah, I'm from Savannah as well. And I'm interested to kind of highlight that our experiences, like just because we're from the same city, our experiences are very different. So I do want to talk a little bit about that. Like, what was like your childhood like? What was elementary school, your experiences there?
Savannah is, for the most part, Savannah's been good to me. I didn't really have it, rough as some. It wasn't like a not going home, not having lights on type of struggle, but struggles was definitely there at times. My mom was a single parent for a long time, taking care of me and my little brother. So it was definitely times where, she was working, 2 or 3 jobs to make sure we were good. And, my granddad had to make sure we were took care of. And, my great granddad and my great grandma, she passed September. Those two probably were the biggest two that raised me and my little brother coming up. So when it came to getting from school, we used to go to the house a lot. And I grew up. I didn't grow up in a bad part of Savannah, I would say. But it was all around the city. So yeah, it was things that I did grow up seeing. Like I said, my life wasn't as bad as some, but that just come from, I guess, just being blessed. And, I did lose homeboys coming up in high school. I lost my first friend. I was in like 9th grade to gun violence. And I lost a good bit to gun violence. So that has been something I've always dealt with once I did get older. So growing up in Savannah, it was one of those things where sports took care of us. Yeah. The whole city, no matter where you from, east side, west side, south side, we played sports. So, it started off on Daffin Park every Saturday. Everybody played for their respective teams. So I grew a lot of bonding relationships with a lot of, good dudes that became, my brothers. So everybody came from different paths, different ways, but, we all kind of looked at each other as family. And we kind of always took care of one another. So Savannah to me has always been a together city. No matter what people say, no matter how they portray it sometimes, man, Savannah has been good. I look at Savannah and I see more than what people think it is. Savannah cares about each other. We look out for one another. And I think that's the biggest thing, me coming up. Like, it was never a time where I couldn't go to one of my friends' parents and ask for something, or they wasn't doing for me. And I think that's the biggest thing with growing up. I always had people in my corner that looked out for me. And it was the same way. My side, my mama let people come stay at the house. She fed my friends, fed my little brother friends, and she treated them all like they were her own kids. And same as a lot of my brothers' mothers, they took care of me as if I was their own. So growing up, I didn't have it bad, but I definitely can say Savannah has taught me a lot, and that's why I think I'm here, and I come back to my city. I think I'm gonna be here for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there is that joke of like, some of us don't get to leave.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because that's been my story with Savannah is
right.
I went to college here and just ended up staying here. I did have that moment of like wishing that my city was Atlanta and wanting to be where there was more stuff going on. That was the thing. But I see exactly what you're saying of that support. And so I would imagine, especially just what you brought up of that experience of losing a friend to gun violence. But then even when you go back, like the things you're talking about of a mom, like a single mom working multiple jobs, having people that you knew would take care of you. I'm sure that made such a difference because there is that risk, you know, like if you don't have people around you when you're experiencing stuff like that, you can get into a lot more. And
I could remember my stepdad, man. My stepdad came in my life. I was about 12 years old, 11. And he picked up a lot of, well, I wouldn't say picked up a lot of slack, but he helped my mom a lot. Mm-hmm. And once he came in, there was a male figure that was actually in the house with me. That he really did a lot for me. He taught me a lot, showed me a lot. He guided me. So, you know, as I got older, the pivotal times where, you know, it was somebody I could actually turn to. I had a lot of coaches and a lot of uncles. And I had my dad too. My dad was still in my life, but once my stepdad came around, it was a different feeling having somebody in the house with you that you could go to, and that was there for you. So that's one person, like out of everybody who's been in my life and helped, you know, that's one person I could say like that really, you know, he took care of me and really taught me a whole lot and showed me, you know, how to be a man and taught me how to really grow up and stand on your own 2 feet. So I commend him a lot for that. You know what I mean? 2 boys coming in. You know, me and my little brother was rough. I know it. I know we wasn't the best children, but he helped us out. And even to this day, like that's probably one of my biggest supporters through everything. So I definitely can say he has taught me a lot. It's really just, like I said, Savannah, Georgia, man, this is my home, man. I love my city. From the coaches, teachers, family members, pastors, everybody's always been in my corner. Everybody's always supported me. Even my friends, like everybody always kind of took care of me and took me under their wings. So I can honestly say Savannah is definitely a place I could always call home, whether I was to leave or stay. So
no, I love that. I love that for you, there's been that level of support. And I feel like in times of just even when I went to the Love Rally that you put together, I was just so blown away, like seeing the mayor there and seeing the chief of police there, just seeing other key leaders there. That meant a lot to me, showing up to that. And so I do want to touch on, for you had mentioned gun violence being a part of your experience growing up. What was it like being in 9th grade and losing your best friend?
Man, and Trey, we played sports together. So Trey really, I wouldn't even say he was a best friend. He was like a brother to me. He was one of my brothers. Like, you know, growing up playing sports, you all become family. That was my first time really dealing with gun violence. That's the first one I lost, and I didn't really know how to really take it, because it was like, a friend died, but like the whole gun violence part, it didn't really register to me at that point. It was like sad. I cried. It wasn't till I lost Rashad Spain where it was like, man, wow, I lost him February 14, 2014, Valentine's Day. When Spain got killed, it kind of was like, wow, man, that's somebody I was with, you know, every day at one point, you know. And then 2016, Jabri Bryant, I was like a big cousin to me, you know. I played ball with him since I was 6, 7 years old. So when I lost those two, it really it did something to me because those were two that really were, you know, a part of my childhood. You know, those were two guys I turned to. Jabri was a dude I turned to a lot, often to talk to about more than just basketball, but life. He was definitely really influential to me coming up playing college ball because he was playing college ball. So those were probably my first three as in like young age, like people I lost to gun violence. And there was others I lost that I knew. You know, it was a lot of people that got killed in Savannah that I knew and was around, but those three were three that I can really say impacted me. And then a couple months ago when Brian got killed, that was a kid I watched play ball, played with him in the gym. It kind of brought back that memory of those guys because, you know, I felt for his close friends because I remember I was them one day. So remembering, you know, the guys I lost once, you know, I got that call about Brian and I saw, you know, that he was killed. It kind of was like a deja vu almost. Yeah. So it's just one of those things, man, that, you know, growing up in Savannah, you never want to see it, you never want to be a part of it, but it's almost like it's a norm in Savannah. You know, growing up, it was, you saw it, and it's just as I got older, you started seeing it more frequently, and then the ages just got younger, you know. Being in the school system, working in the school system, I see 15, 16-year-olds losing their life, and I've seen, you know, students I was with every day, I've seen them lose their life, and it's hard sometimes, it hurt, but then at the same time, it's almost like you become numb to it. Yeah. Like you hear it and it's like, oh man, you know, so that's really why I did the rally when I did it. It was just one of them things where it was like, we can't keep being numb to it. Like we can't just keep thinking it's all right that, you know, mothers and fathers are burying their kids. And that's the hardest part about growing up in Savannah, you know, and really I say the world. I mean, because I mean, that's what's really going on. Parents aren't, you know, dying and their kids are burying them. It's parents are literally burying their kids and their kids are not even experiencing life. Yeah. You know, so when I did the rally, that was my biggest thing, is just bringing guys together and, you know, showing that and saying like, hey man, we got to do something to stop it. And I mean, I knew it wouldn't stop right then, but all I could do is use my voice and try to be a familiar face and an image to people and just kind of lead and show that, man, just because you're from the city, just because you grew up in a certain area, just because you grew up a certain way doesn't mean you have to, you know, be a quote unquote statistic. So that was my biggest thing. You know, that's just kind of how I carry myself, lead by example. And everybody see me, they, you know, I'm always smiling, goofy. That's kind of how I try to carry myself. So that was my biggest thing with the rally, just show people that, you know, you don't have to be a part of the it crowd. You don't have to be, you know, a certain type of person to live your life. I think that's the biggest thing going on right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that what I appreciated about what you guys put together was it felt like an invitation into trying to come up with a solution. Right. Because I think you're exactly right. We can become numb to it, especially being from here. It's not an uncommon thing just to hear that there was a shooting. Right. And it can just be that this is the norm. Right. This is just how things are. And there can be, along with the numbness, just like a hopelessness, like we're not being imaginative of like how to make a difference. And I don't want to take away from the non-profits that we have here, because we have tons of people who are trying, that they're putting in the work, especially with youth, because I remember that was being the emphasis there of we need to be going towards the kids. We need to be mentoring them, because like everything that you said in your story, you had men in your life that were molding and shaping you. You had your dad in your life, you had uncles, you had teachers, you had coaches. And I can't help but think that is a step in a direction of some sort.
I think one thing I say about mentoring is, and like you said, I don't knock any organization, no nonprofit organization, but it's some good guys doing things that, you know, maybe not getting the same credit because they're not on Front Street with it. It's a lot of guys doing things, but my biggest thing is mentoring doesn't have to have a currency on it, money on it. Mentoring is definitely is going out and finding kids and finding young men who maybe just need some guidance. It's not always about, putting them in a building and, taking them this place, taking them that place and showing them, which that is good. But I think some guys and some of these kids just want somebody to just kind of show them you love them, show them you care about them and that it is somewhere there for them. And I think sometimes we get away from that. Like, I feel once you put a name on an organization, sometimes that can maybe take away from certain things because now, you have grants coming in, you have money coming in. Now you feel obligated to do certain things with that money and things like that. So I feel like mentoring, if I get 2 kids and I'm reaching those 2, there are 2 more kids I might be getting out the street. Yeah. So if I got 50 of my homeboys and then 50 of my, coaches or uncles or older men, and we all went and found 2 young boys that maybe need some guidance, that's 200 kids that is getting, mentored and is getting guidance. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's going on in the world right now, that we aren't mentoring. We aren't really trying to reach them as like one-on-one kind of sometimes. And at the same time, I think it's almost like it's a fear because this generation is kind of rebellious. Yeah. At times I think that because some of us, I won't say fear the kids, but a lot of us didn't grow up with disrespect. I'm young, so, I'm kind of in the midst. So I really don't get it as much because the kids kind of, they still can relate to me. But, older generations, they don't deal with disrespect. So the minute a kid disrespect them or, do anything out the way, it's almost like, I can't help you. So I think right now that's just bridging that gap and connecting the older generation to the younger generation. And just getting the younger generation to kind of open their ears and open their eyes and see that, it is people that help them, man. They don't have to, be whatever, their favorite rapper. Yeah. Or do whatever their favorite rapper is doing. Because I think that's what's going on right now. They're following, the trend, thinking that's what's cool. Yeah. So.
Well, that's the age that you're looking for, like, who am I? And looking for something to define you, and it's exactly what you said of it's just that easy. But I think that we do make it bigger than it needs to be. Like, so as a coach, and you also teach PE, and you're around that age range, what are you observing that's different with this current generation that's coming up?
The biggest thing with this younger generation is they don't listen. They speak before they listen. They don't really think before they speak or act, and they don't really see the consequence for their actions. They don't believe that this can happen to them. So they don't live without. They live with no fear. Like, this generation isn't scared to die almost. Yeah. And that's the scary thing about it. This generation isn't scared to, lose their life for whatever they believe in. And they lack knowledge, and they lack guidance. I believe that this generation is probably one of our most innovative generations because they have the resources to do a lot of things. So it's not a coincidence that you're seeing 17, 18-year-old entrepreneurs right now. Yeah. Because they have it, but it's almost they just lack that guidance. They lack that knowledge. They don't want help. Yeah. They want to do it on their own. And at the same time, I think this is the microwave stage. If it's not done right then that's not what they want. I think that's the biggest thing. And then just finding themselves. This generation doesn't believe that they can do more. Most of them want to play ball, want to rap, and they don't really see the the outside of that. I mean, you have a lot of kids that, they want to be doctors, they want to be lawyers, they want to do different things, but they don't see the bigger picture of things. Like, you want to go play basketball, but what if you're an analyst? What if you're a physical therapist? What if you're still around the sport that you love, and you might not make it to the NBA, or even with rapping and singing? There's so many other things that go into it. I was talking to a kid yesterday about it. I was like, you don't have to have a mic to be successful. I mean, you could be a producer, engineer. It's so many other things you can do in the music industry to, help you, that you don't have to have a mic. And I just think this generation just needs a little more push. I would say a little more push. I won't say they're bad off. They just need some real guidance and somebody really to grab them.
Yeah.
And I think someone just need a little belt to them. Just take off your belt. Just beat them a little bit. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's so much child abuse going on. You can't really do it. Someone just need a little belt. Mm-hmm. That's how I got with me. Mama beat me all the time.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sheikah.
Well, I mean, we got to shout out our moms.
Yeah, got to.
But no, so when you are engaged with your students and then with your perspective on gun violence and what you've experienced, and kind of what you have pointed out is that they're getting them younger and younger.
Right.
And it seems like a lot of that is the influences that they're around, and who they're looking to influence them. What are some things that you're encouraging them to do? What are some of the conversations that you're finding yourself having?
The biggest conversation, I just ask them, what's their purpose? I ask them what they want out of life. I ask them, where do they see themselves in 5-10 years? And then once they tell me that, you kind of can see where their head's at. It's definitely in the music. I tell them all the time, when I talk to them, I tell them that your favorite rapper might not be the person you think he is. He's selling albums, he's selling streams. So don't get so caught up in what you see him doing, because that's not always the life they really living. And a lot of them, they are having daily struggles, so I try to just be there and have them talk. I think the generation is really angry, so I try to really just talk to them and just listen to them, because sometimes we got to just listen to the younger group and see what their thoughts on things are. And now that's just really what I've been doing lately, just asking them what their take on everything is, what do they think about it. Because a lot of them just lack the knowledge, so they don't understand that just because you're having problems with somebody, y'all get to fighting. If you go get a gun and shoot them, that's premeditated murder. You're going to get a 25, that's the minimum. You're going to get a 25 to life maximum sentence. And they don't understand that, because they're only thinking that I'm having beef, or my ops is trying me, is what they say now, So my daily conversation with them is just, hey, be yourself, be you, who you are. Don't think you have to be somebody else or portray somebody else to, get friends or be cool. That's really the thing I talk to them about, and just really just ask them, like, what do they see themselves? What do they want to do? And a lot of them, honestly, that's a question a lot of them don't really know the answer to.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what this generation is missing. Like, they're missing that purpose. They don't really understand that purpose. So when you don't understand your purpose, you do things to try to find yourself. And find yourself means, you're trying to find what crowd you're supposed to be in. So I just talked to them about, hey, be a leader, not a follower. And that's really what's the biggest thing right now. Lead. I tell all my guys, lead, be you. Yeah. Everybody not gonna be with you. And that's okay. I mean, everybody didn't follow Jesus. Yeah. So I kind of tell them that without giving it to them where they might not understand, but I just tell them, like, when it comes to Jesus Christ had 12 disciples. Those were his 12 main followers. I mean, those his friends. I mean, how many did Jesus save? So that's the thing I try to let them know. You can be yourself and be cool in your own way. Don't look for somebody else for validation. I tell them that the most. Like, don't look for other people for validation. Look to other people to, give you a confirmation of who you are. Yeah. So,
was that what really helped you not get swept up in things?
Yeah, I think I was always a leader. I was a natural born leader.
Mm-hmm.
I was always somebody I was my own person. That's one thing I can say about my biological dad. Like my dad was like, he was one of those old school dudes who kind of told you like, be yourself. You be a man. You be your own man. So coming up, I was always me. I never really followed the crowd. I never really want to, be somebody else. I think because I played sports, that kind of always separated me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I realized I could be good, because I wasn't the most athletic kid growing up. I wasn't the best kid on the football field and basketball court. And then when I finally did start getting older and I started really getting better, that's when I kind of started realizing that I could be my own person.
Yeah.
But I just had a support system that always pushed me to be myself. My mom, like I said, those were people who definitely always told me, you be yourself. You don't have to have friends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I always was. And I think I was just blessed.
Yeah.
I was just blessed to have the life I had the friends I was around. Most of the guys I grew up with, I'm still with.
Yeah.
And they know, like, when they see me, they know who I am. So they know it's certain stuff I'm not going to do, so they don't even ask me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that speaks volume of my character. And that's why I hang around a lot of guys that have a certain character and certain values to themselves.
Yeah.
That's really been helping me. That really helps me. And that really helped me grow up.
No, I think it seems so simple, but it's like the way you put that, it just clicked in my head of like, that is the protective factor.
Right.
Like, I know that for me, because we're about to segue to race, so just go ahead and buckle on up.
Yeah, I got you.
I know that for me, as a Black woman that grew up here, I had those protective factors. My parents were together, and even though there were things that happened in my childhood that weren't great, like my mom wasn't always fully present. She was an alcoholic, but my dad was, very present and stable and there for me. And I had people around me. I was very close to my grandparents. And so I had those protective factors, and their biggest thing was education. Because at that point, that was the ticket. I was in college when it crashed down. Right. So I was in college when it was like, this plan might not work out for you. But they pushed me because there were a lot of things that they were trying to protect me from, some of which I didn't understand, not getting caught up in what was on TV, on who I needed to be as a Black woman, or just being, using the skills that I'm blessed with and not try to compare myself. I mean, I still had to go through that phase because I was hard-headed and didn't believe them.
Right.
But then just even the things that they tried to instill in me, my dad was a really big proponent of. Like, he wasn't very coddly. So he was very much hey, you're Black, you're a woman, and you're just going to have to work harder. Right. You have to work harder than everybody. You're just going to. And that hurt because it's like, why? Yeah. Because when I was really young, I didn't see it. Like, I thought that they were just telling old stories. Right. But as I got older, I became a little bit more aware. And as a woman, and just even the field I'm in, I don't experience a whole lot of, it's not my daily experience. Right. It happens, small things. People make comments, people make judgments. But for you as a Black man, what's your experience been like? And you're fairly tall too, so.
I haven't had a lot of like police and racial profiling incidents. I've had a couple of them, One thing, I used to work a job over the summer when I was in high school and before I went to school. And that job was predominantly white men. So I saw it, but I was always a person who never really, if it never it was never directly to me, I kind of always never really paid any attention. And because I went to that, I worked that job, and then I went to a school that was predominantly white, I saw racism indirectly. I saw the racism be there, but it was never directed to me. And I think the school I was at, I think it was kind of because of a fear of who I was. that it was never directed, and then the job was kind of like they really could never come at me about it.
Yeah.
I think, but I've definitely saw racism, you know, as a black man. I've saw it, but I've never really experienced it as in, you know, really face to face.
Yeah.
So I can't really say I've been racially profiled by the police in the incidents where I was scared for my life.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I can't be in those situations. So I was always taught to be prepared, you know.
Yeah.
I was always taught how to handle the police when you get pulled over. Those are things I learned young when I first started driving. And that kind of helped me. And it's sad that we had to have a conversation about racism, and it exists as it does, but it's probably the worst virus right now.
Yeah.
Because it's been going on for so long. And being a black man in America, you're a threat.
Yeah.
And I feel you're a threat because of the knowledge you have now. It's just not about your physical attributes, you know. Black men are well educated. We have a lot of things to offer, and I think that's the biggest threat to the world. Because, you know, we weren't supposed to be, you know, who we are. We were supposed to be athletes. That's what we were supposed to do. You know, we weren't supposed to, we weren't supposed to become doctors and lawyers and presidents. And I think that's the threat. And now it's becoming to the point where you almost like you're trying to get rid of the race. I mean, it's sad, but I think that's the biggest thing. So being a black man in America, you know, it's sad we having that conversation.
Yeah.
Like it's the color of my skin shouldn't affect how you live your life. But it's to the point now where we're losing African American males and females. I say I definitely, because it's both ways that, you know, something has to change. But it's been going on for 400 plus years. So how do we change it? You know.
And that's what I want to keep my hope, because I think that for me, joining in the dialogue and in the things that I've decided to do and have begun to do, and scaling it down, like, because I think that I get overwhelmed when I look at it, because I don't think my parents did a bad job raising me. I don't think my grandparents did a bad job. I think they gave me what they could, which all they knew is that this exists. And so it would be foolish of us not to prepare you. It would be foolish of us. But my feelings still did get hurt, because I think growing up as a kid, I didn't recognize that that's what it was until I hit college. And then I got a different history course than the history that I got in high school. And I had different experiences and started having those strange things happen. For me, it's always been the way I present. And so I've always gotten the, like, I didn't think that you were going to be black, or you sound white, which people didn't recognize that that's a hurtful thing to say. Like, you're saying I should not be articulate. You're saying I shouldn't know what I know, that I shouldn't be whatever, like I should be a thing that you're saying. And I think that my parents did what they needed to do, because it would have done me a disservice if I wouldn't have been prepared. But I have that in my head of, like, I want to have hope that we can have different conversations, but it's so overwhelming to think about how much has to go for that to happen.
When I was in school, when I went to college, I had a lot of shoes. So the first thing they said was, why you have a lot of shoes? Why you have a lot of shoes? I got in a little trouble in the school, and they tried to say I sold drugs because I had a lot of shoes and I wore a hoodie. I never really paid that no attention. I was like, yeah, all right. I kind of looked it off, because they never came to me and said it directly to me. You know, my teammates used to come and say that somebody said something to them. You know, so I kind of looked at it as like you respect me enough not to come to me about it.
Yeah.
But you still want me to know that you thought it. So college probably was where I saw the most, because like I said, I went to a predominantly white Christian school, I should say. So I saw a lot of, Christian people look at me a certain way.
Yeah.
But it never really bothered me.
Yeah.
Because I was just always taught, if it ain't directed, it's not respected. That it's cliche to say, but if it never came to me, it was never something I had to address at that point. It really wasn't something that had to be addressed as far as I had to take action. Unlike now, where you have black brothers being killed, and even though it's not directly affecting me, it's like I almost, I had to say something.
Yeah. Because
that definitely could be me, my brothers, you, teammates, anybody. So now it's like, okay, Kevin, what's your take on everything about it? And that's really why when you asked me to come speak, I had no problem with saying yes, because I think dialogue is the best way to start. Yeah. Talking is the best way to get the thoughts out and get the ideas out. So
yeah. For you, so what are you seeing right now with we had ourselves an for my opinion, it was an onslaught. Like we went from, and I know for me it was really hard with the Ahmaud case because that's an hour and a half. That's not even that far from here. And then we transitioned to, we heard about Breonna, and then we transitioned to where we are now with George Floyd, which has now happened with protests, some turning to rioting and looting. And that's a whole separate thing. And I've been trying to explain to friends that it's not just those things, that this has been a buildup for me since that first moment. If I think about my lifetime, when I was aware that like, okay, things aren't matching. Because I think the first time I felt like a wave was Trayvon Martin was a big wave. And there's the list that's huge. Like I think some newspaper had put out every single name. So trying to explain the collectivist mindset, because I think that's what is happening is like, as whatever you want to call Black people, African Americans, we have that collectivist mindset of like, this is family and they're all connected. It's not an individual case. So for you, what has that experience been like of just these, like this crazy year?
The year is one, but it's been going on so long. Savannah's had its own run-ins with police, things like that some people may not even have remembered. Years ago we lost somebody, to gun, police brutality. It's like I said before, it's almost like it's a norm. Yeah. But the problem is, I feel like it's a game of don't get caught. It's a game of don't be seen, because it's no telling how many George Floyds have happened in the world that nobody saw. Yeah. It's no telling how many situations happened that because nobody saw it, it's no justice being served. The kid down in Valdosta who was found in the mat. Yeah. It was because nobody saw what happened. It's no justice has been served for him. It's so many situations now with police brutality and hate crimes that are now being seen. Now we're trying to hold people accountable. But what about the ones that we don't know about? Yeah. Though that's the scary part about it. Because it's almost like, unless that camera is out, we almost have to think that the justice system isn't going to do anything about it. It's just going to be another situation, another African American, gone for whatever reason, or what they call foul play is what was kind of like the thing they say now when they can't really give you it wasn't foul play, I should say. They try to give you another reason why somebody died. But these last couple of weeks have probably been the scariest, the most depressing, and the angriest time of a lot of our lives, because now we're a part of history.
Yeah.
Now we're a part of what's going on. You know, the rioting and looting that's happened is things that our grandparents told us about, you know, from Rodney King, you know, years and years ago. And to be a part of it and actually see what's really going on, it's almost like, wow. Like, and I made the joke a couple of days ago. I said, man, whatever kid is in history class years from now that's gonna talk about 2020, that's probably gonna be a history class by itself, because so much has been going on. But it's sad that it has come to this. I mean, and it's even sadder that we have to have this going on, these riots, this loot, and these protests to get justice. I mean, Ice Cube said it, that the U.S. and the government has made help more people get affected by the coronavirus now, because it's thousands of people marching.
Yeah.
Because of 4 policemen not getting acquitted. And that speaks volume. That makes you think, like, how many people do you think maybe really going to catch coronavirus because of something that could have been handled?
Yeah.
I mean, why are we discussing, you know, if a policeman should be charged with murder or first degree or third degree murder, where we deliberately seize him, you know, put his knee on his neck? Why are we discussing should the guys who shot Ahmaud be charged when we saw them chase him down? We saw them corner him in. Why are we discussing why Breonna Taylor is getting, you know, why officers not being charged yet? When they went into the house for a raid, it was in the wrong house. So why is that even? It's no reason we should be discussing those matters, because it's right there. But the problem is, the system isn't for us. The system wasn't made to protect us. I mean, and we're protecting policemen more than the people they're supposed to serve.
No, and I think that's been the interesting thing lately, is noticing how many people are aware right now and how many people want to be a part of the discussion right now, and how many people want, because I do think this happening in the backdrop of coronavirus has kind of put people in a position where they can't get away from it. Like, even if you're working, your time is shorter. Like, there's not as much to do. There's things that are open, but not as much. And there are even some places, I think that's why we're seeing New Zealand do a march.
Right.
I think that's why we're seeing it like globally, people like kind of cocking their head to the side, like, what's going on right now? Because we aren't as busy, so we're almost forced to look at it. But it has been, these last couple of weeks, I will say, has been like that roller coaster for me too, emotionally, of like feeling all of the feelings at the same time. And so what about you personally? Like, how has it felt for you personally?
My biggest thing is, I tell myself I gotta live every day. I made a statement. It's pretty much you had to. Only person can change what's going on is God himself. Yeah. You know, God is the only person that could change what's going on in the world. So biggest thing I could do is just pray every day that when I walk out the house, I'm able to come home to my daughter. I mean, it's a scary statement, because, you know, we shouldn't have to live like that. But I mean, you gotta live your life and just understand, you know, find your purpose, find what you're supposed to do, and just pray that God, you know, protects you and keeps you in his arms. And your walk every day is just, you know, you don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know. I see it, and it's made me angry, because I'm a black man in America. I coach young black men that's gonna grow up in this world. And I think that I have to be stern and focused, so that I can show them that they have to live their life a certain way. I can't, even if I am fearful of things, I can't show them that, because I have to teach them, this is what you do, this is how you live, and this is how you carry yourself, so that you don't get put in a situation like that. Because that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, how many people have been wrongfully convicted of things, and how many people have lost their life to police that weren't doing anything? But then you have those instances where, you know, some have provoked police. And I hate to say it because, you know, that's not what we want to hear.
Yeah.
But there has been instances where you have provoked the police or put yourself in a certain situation. Now, do I think that happened every time? No, not at all. But we have to look at both parts to it, because the police brutality has to stop, but we also have to, you know, carry ourselves a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that to, you know, make anybody mad or say, like, oh man, you can't say that. But I mean, it's situations where you put yourself in those situations.
Yeah.
So that's just how we have to live our life and carry ourselves. Like I said, you can't control everything. You only can control you. Mm-hmm. And that's I look at everything right now. That's the realization of everything. That pray that it ain't your turn. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's really how I look at it right now.
Yeah. No, I think that is a very honest, and I appreciate you like sharing that, because it is that, like, you can't be struck down by your fear to where you're not living your life, but you also can't be naive and pretend that things aren't happening. How do you respond to those that, because I think the biggest thing that I hear is that comparison between gun violence and, like, so the violence that we have in our communities versus the police brutality. And sometimes when we're talking about, like right now, that's an elevated issue that we're talking about. And so I feel like there's these are two separate conversations. Right. One is a conversation in terms of like support, but that one is compounded with like what you talked about with conviction rates, where they live, do they have support versus police brutality, which is a different topic, hate crimes, which is a different separate thing. So first, do you ever get those questions? And second, if you did, how do you explain the difference between the two?
And truthfully, one point I said that we can't speak on police brutality until we fix home. Mm-hmm. But then I realized you can't compare the two.
Yeah.
As a police officer, you are sworn in to protect and serve. Mm-hmm. And you are given certain, you know, ways to carry yourself, certain tools to carry yourself that doesn't have to be turned into gunshots with bullets. I mean, you see what's going on around. All of them got rubber bullets. You know, they got tasers. They got these different things. And you see it more often than none. I mean, Dylan Roof shoots up. I think that's when it shot up the church. Mm-hmm. He walks out and has on, you know, he's vice grip. Eric Gardner was on the ground for selling cigarettes or CDs, whatever he was doing, and George Floyd was whatever, forging checks or whatever. You can't compare the two because it's a different reality to both of them.
Yeah.
Is the crime in the community supposed to be there? No. Is it bad? Very bad. But when your job is to protect and serve, you are to protect and serve. Now, are you supposed to be fearful? No. I think that police are scared. Mm-hmm. Some of them are threatened. And I think that they're acting off of their emotion and their thought process outside of that uniform. Yeah. And I think that's the psychological downfall of some of these police officers, because they are threatened. Mm-hmm. And once you feel threatened, it's just like a dog in the corner. Mm-hmm. It's going to attack. And I think that's what's going on right now. And the fact that people comparing them, it's almost like they're not trying to see the problem. You know, white on white crime, black on black crime, Asian on Asian crime, like, okay, we get those. But when you have police brutality and hate crimes, those are for reasons A hate crime is because you don't like the color of somebody's skin, or you don't like the religion, or you don't like the way they live, or whatever. That's a different type of crime, because now you're disliking somebody for something that's out of your control. And for anybody to take a life because of what you dislike about somebody or some part of somebody else's life, that's a problem. As a police, taking the life of a civilian is different if you're supposed to be apprehending them. Once you apprehend them and it's 4 y'all you call backup, it's no reason, unless there's a weapon, unless like you are being threatened with a weapon, or I just don't see how you murder somebody and you don't take certain protocol. Like in Louisville, none of them had their cameras on. Your job is to protect and serve. Why is your camera off? I mean, those are things that's going on right now that shows you cannot compare community crimes to police brutality and hate crimes. I mean, it's just the fact that we even have, you have people comparing the two and not really seeing, that's the problem. I feel like if you're justifying the problem, you're part of the problem.
Yeah. And
I think that's what's going on. And that's probably the hardest thing right now, because it's going on. I mean, it's tough. It's tough because now you have the fear of police.
Yeah.
Now you're scared of police, and I honestly think it might get worse because of this the fear of police. And police are just as scared. Because like I said, every police isn't bad, but it's almost like you're under that umbrella now. Whether you're a good police, great cop, like it doesn't really matter, because it doesn't show anything. Like it's pretty much us against them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look, you trying to gain our trust, man, but how can you really do that? Marching with us isn't, just because you marching with us and taking a knee with us isn't going to change anything, especially if it's already been done. I mean, seeing the police march with us and kneel with us, those, I mean, hey, okay, thanks. But what's next? I mean.
Yeah, and I think that's been the question for a very long time. And I think that's what stops us, is because it is so large, and something that I've been telling myself daily, and as I've been praying over it, it's just asking God what impact can I have right now?
Right.
Because I do believe in ripples. I do believe that I can affect the people in my orbit, and they're going to, I want everybody who enters my orbit to leave with something, whether it's encouragement or a resource or a direction to go or a new skill.
Right.
And I want them to be able to leave, and then with that, they can go inspire someone else and go inspire someone else. I was talking to my sister about, like, I really want for this time around to be inspiring the right people.
Right.
Inspiring people who have different, because I'm a counselor, so I'm really big into supporting people mental health wise. That's my gifting. But I would love to see people being activated in their skill set, being like a lawyer being activated, a person who's a doctor, someone who creates music. Like, if we can keep it to what we can do, instead of, because I love the marching, I love the protests, I love the collectivism, because we're supporting each other in this moment. But after that,
my biggest thing.
Yeah, what is your perspective of what's next?
Just putting plans in motion. Dialogue, once again. That's probably where the standstill is at, just trying to figure out what to do next. I think just really just getting the people together and just seeing what they want and seeing how they can carry themselves. One thing I can honestly say, to gain trust back of police, I feel like they have to take themselves out of that badge and put themselves in our shoes, almost. regardless if you feel how we feel, when you have that uniform on, you're at work. You're doing your job. So you can tell me all day you feel what I'm feeling, but you're on the other side right there. And like I said, I got friends that are police, you know, and I think they had to take that badge off and go in and be there and be you, not officer such and such, not sergeant such and such, but be first name, last name. Mm-hmm. And let's see people for who you are, because at the end of the day, your job is to protect and serve. That's just your job. You're still a man. You're still a woman after that. So go out and be that person in your community. Show who you are without the badge on. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the first thing. I think we have to get to the point where we see police for who they are, because growing up, you always was feared of police. This isn't you always didn't want to deal with police. Police are always considered bad people. Mm-hmm. You see the police, it's bad. Something bad gonna happen. Like that's the stereotype of police. I mean, that's what they are. They're here to. Mm-hmm. You got something wrong, they put to fix it and take care of it for you know, somewhat. So I think that's the first step. I mean, that's the hardest thing, trying to find what's next.
Yeah. What would you say, you know, for our listeners, like we have a mixed crowd. So we have men, we have women, we have different races. What would you say is something that a person could do?
Love. Love conquers hate.
Yeah.
The Bible, you love what God loves, you hate what God hates. Mm-hmm. Man, love one another, regardless of the color of somebody's skin. You know, be a helping hand, smile. Man, do what's right. I think some of the best teammates I had were white. Mm-hmm. I had a teammate from Lithuania. I guess he was white. I always call him beige or vanilla, but those are some of my best teammates, man. And I learned you have to love. Love conquers hate. That's the biggest thing right now. There's so much hate going on, so much evil that nobody is showing genuine love. And once you start showing love and compassion, I think that's when things start to change. Mm-hmm. The color of your skin, your background, your preference, none of that matter. You know, love the next person. Show love, you know, smile. Show somebody some type of compassion every day, no matter what's going on with you. And I think that's my biggest thing, you know. I started to feel like that was what I had to do. Yeah. Inspiring people isn't always just talking and telling them, you know, what you feel, what they should do. It's just carrying yourself and showing that, you know, showing your compassion and showing the love and just smiling. You never know how far a smile can take you. You're living better than somebody on your worst day. That's somebody's best day. Yeah. So every day you have to carry yourself and just show love. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. We could write down as many plans. We could write down a list of things to do, man. But if there's no love behind it, it's not going to be genuine. Yeah. And I think that's honestly what the world needs. The world just pretty much need like a big old hug and just everybody just say, I love you. Like, I think that's what's going on right now. That's it.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, because I think that is so much of where's your heart. Right. Because just like you touched on, we can make plans. I can order every single book that is going to teach me about the racial divide or about a different culture or about a topic that I don't know anything about. And that's good. Education is great. Like, I will never take away from that. But what is my heart posture? Because if I'm looking to educate myself so I can love somebody better, so I can walk in my purpose, then it's going to be helpful. But if I'm doing it just because I feel like I'm supposed to, or I'm doing it half-hearted, or I'm doing it so I can prove somebody wrong and prove my belief right, then it's not going to take me anywhere. I really do appreciate everything that you shared. And I mean, we touched on your background and the things that you're doing in terms of impacting youth and your direction and the things that you see in Savannah and wanting to help stop the cycle of gun violence. But then where we are now, there's so many things. So, you know, you kind of touched on it, but I do want to ask you that if one of our listeners were to sit across from you and ask you what's the challenge, what is the thing that they could do, where's the action step for them?
Again, I would tell somebody, just show love every day for one, and just carry yourself and do what's right. No matter what your stance on something is, if you know something is wrong, do what's right. I tell them and challenge them to just live every day to the fullest and just educate, get as much knowledge as you can. You'll never be the next person, but that doesn't mean you can't learn about them and grow with that person.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the biggest challenge. Just live every day. I won't say like it's your last. I don't really like that cliche sentence there, but live every day to the fullest and live it to the purpose of showing love to somebody. Yeah. No matter what you do, know that what you're doing could make somebody else smile.
Yeah. No, because, I mean, empathy requires proximity. We need to be close to people to care about them. And so if we're not trying to see the world through someone else's eyes, which is my heart behind this podcast and my heart behind this interview, is that someone who might not see the way you do would be willing to listen and hear you. Right. Because we don't always have to see the world the same, and I don't think we're supposed to. I think that's the beauty of the body, the beauty of innovation, is that we would all see it different and bring it to the table. So I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And talking with me. And this has been the Neglected Podcast. See y'all later.
Thank you.